Good morning, I am Dr. Seema and today we learn about spleen. Specific learning objectives. At the end of the class, students should be able to describe the location, anatomical position and external features of spleen, peritoneal and visceral relations of spleen, blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic drainage and applied aspects of spleen. Spleen is the largest lymphoid organ. It is located in the left hypochondrium between fundus of stomach and diaphragm. Usually it is wedge shaped. It can be either tetrahedral or triangular too. It is soft and friable and usually it is purple in color. This is the posterior view of the spleen and this is the anterior view and this is the lateral view of the spleen. Here you can clearly see that the spleen lies opposite to 9, 10 and 11th ribs. The long axis of the spleen is lying downwards, forwards and laterally. The long axis of spleen is parallel to that of 10th rib and the anterior end of the spleen is reaching up to mid-axillary line and the posterior end is lying 5 cm in front of T10 spine. Now we will see the measurements of spleen. It is very easy for remembering the average dimensions of spleen by using Harry's dictum of odd numbers from 1 to 11. Now see here, this is spleen and its average thickness is 1 inch, its breadth is 3 inch, its length is 5 inch, it weighs about 7 ounce and it is related to the left ribs from 9 to 11. External features of spleen can be compared to the features of a single piece of orange. You have to keep a single piece of orange exactly as it is seen in the diagram. Now you can see the spleen which is in situ. In situ means which is in the anatomical position. Now see the similarity between the two diagrams. Now spleen is having two ends, the medial end and the lateral end, and two surfaces, the visceral surface and the diaphragmatic surface, and three borders, the superior border, the intermediate border and the inferior border. Now we will see one features in detail. The medial end is rounded in contour and it is even called as the posterior end and it lies 5 cm away from the spine of T10 vertebra. Now to see the anterior end or the lateral end, it is almost like a border and it is otherwise called as the anterior border. Then there are two surfaces. The convex outer surface is called as the diaphragmatic surface as it is related to the diaphragm. Then the concave irregular surface is called as the visceral surface and it is related to the abdominal viscera. Now to see the borders, this is the superior border and it separates the visceral surface from the diaphragmatic surface above. And this is the intermediate border and the lower one is the inferior border and this border also separates the visceral surface from the diaphragmatic surface inferiorly. Now if you closely observe the superior border, you can see some notches and it can be a single notch or it can be many in number, and this is very important to keep the spleen in anatomical position. Anatomical position of spleen explains how it is placed in a person who is in anatomical position. It is very important during discussion because all the viscera should be explained by keeping it in its anatomical position. So in case of spleen, as it is placed in the left hypochondrium, you have to hold it in the left hand only and you have to keep it exactly as it is seen in the diagram. See that the medial rounded contoured end should be placed medially and the border like anterior or lateral end is placed laterally. And the superior border with the notches should be placed above and the convex surface should be placed outwards. The visceral surface of spleen consists of 4 impressions: gastric, renal, colic and pancreatic. Among all the 4, the gastric impression is the most marked one, and it is produced by the fundus of stomach, and it is present between the superior and intermediate borders. The hilum of the spleen is located in the lower part of this impression, and through this hilum the structures enter and leave the spleen. Next impression is the renal impression, and this is present between the intermediate border and the lower border, and this is produced by the anterior surface of the left kidney. Next is the colic impression, and this is produced by the left colic flexure, and it is triangular in shape and is situated in front of the lateral end. And the last impression is the pancreatic impression, and it is produced by the tail of pancreas, and it is present between the hilum of the spleen and the colic impression. Now we will see the visceral relations of spleen. This is the diagram of abdominal cavity, and the anterior abdominal wall is removed. Here you can see the liver, this is the stomach, this is spleen, and this is the large intestine, and this is the small intestine. And now you can clearly see that the spleen is related to the fundus of the stomach, and you can even see that it is even related to the left colic flexure or splenic flexure of the colon. This is another diagram of the abdominal cavity where the stomach is removed and it is represented by dotted lines. Okay, and here the liver is removed and a part of the large intestine is removed and the small intestine is removed, so that you are able to see the viscera deep to it. That is a pair of kidney, this is the duodenum, and this is pancreas, and the kidneys are seen properly. And now you can see that the spleen is clearly related to the tail of the pancreas and to the left kidney. This diagram shows the relations of the diaphragmatic surface of the spleen, and you can clearly see that this is the spleen and this is the diaphragm. So immediately behind it, it is related to the diaphragm, and the diaphragm, as all of you know, it separates the peritoneal cavity from the pleural cavity. So just above that you will be seeing a part of the pleural recess, that is a costodiaphragmatic recess, and above that you are getting the left lung, and after that you will be getting the 9, 10 and 11 ribs. Once more we will see the visceral relations of the spleen. This is the spleen, and its convex surface is related to diaphragm, and its concave surface is related to left kidney forming renal impression, then tail of pancreas forming the pancreatic impression, left colic flexure forming the colic impression, and the stomach is removed. So here the stomach will be forming the gastric impression. Peritoneal relations of spleen. Spleen is an intraperitoneal organ. That means it is completely covered by peritoneum except along its hilum. And from the hilum, the peritoneum will be getting reflected onto its neighboring viscera. That means the stomach and to the kidney. So the fold of peritoneum which is reflecting from the hilum of the spleen to the greater curvature of the stomach is called as the gastrosplenic ligament, and the fold of peritoneum which is extending onto the left kidney anterior surface from the hilum of the spleen is called as the lienorenal or splenorenal ligament. This diagram shows the gastrosplenic ligament and lienorenal ligament. You can clearly see that this is the spleen, this is stomach, and this is the greater curvature of the stomach. So the gastrosplenic ligament connects hilum of the spleen to the upper 1/3 of the greater curvature of stomach, and this ligament mainly consists of short gastric vessels, and this is the lienorenal ligament which connects the hilum of the spleen to the kidney, the left kidney anterior surface. Now this is the kidney, and the lienorenal ligament mainly consists of the tail of the pancreas and the splenic vessels. Phrenicocholic ligament is not directly related to the spleen. It's a triangular fold of peritoneum which connects the left colic flexure to the diaphragm, and it supports the spleen from below. And it even clinically it is important because during splenomegaly it will not allow the spleen to expand directly downwards. That's why the spleen will be enlarging towards the right iliac fossa. At the early developmental phase, the gut tube will be suspended from the anterior abdominal wall by a fold of peritoneum which is called ventral mesogastrium, and from the posterior abdominal wall by dorsal mesogastrium. And the spleen will be developed in the dorsal mesogastrium. And it is formed by the condensation of mesenchymal cells. Small groups or masses of mesenchymal cells will be condensing to form small lobules of the spleen which is called as the spleninculae. Later all the spleninculae will be fusing together to form a spleen. And this lobulated origin of the spleen is represented by the notches which are present in the superior border of the spleen. Blood supply of spleen. The arterial supply of the spleen is derived from splenic artery, which is the largest branch of celiac trunk, which in turn is the ventral branch of abdominal aorta. If you see throughout its course, the splenic artery is highly tortuous, and this is to allow the movement of spleen during the movement of stomach during digestion and movement of diaphragm during respiration. So this tortuosity will be preventing the obstruction of blood flow through the splenic artery to the spleen. And the venous drainage of the spleen is mainly by the splenic vein, and the splenic vein will be accompanied by the splenic artery. The splenic vein reaches the neck of the pancreas and it meets with the superior mesenteric vein to form portal vein. Nerve supply of spleen. The nerves accompany the splenic artery and are derived from the celiac plexus, which is seen in front of the celiac artery. The parasympathetic fibers are derived from vagus nerve, and the sympathetic fibers are derived from greater and lesser splenic nerves. Lymphatic drainage of spleen. The lymph vessels emerge from the hilum and pass through a few lymph nodes along the course of the splenic artery and then drain into the celiac nodes. Enlargement of spleen from its normal size is called as splenomegaly, and the common causes for this is malaria, cirrhosis of liver, Kala-Azar and chronic myeloid leukemia. A spleen cannot be palpated when it is having normal size. When it is become double the size or more than that only it can be palpated. And usually the spleen enlarges towards the right iliac fossa, and spleen will be palpated also from the right iliac fossa towards the left hypochondrium. Spleen is having an anterior basal angle and a posterior basal angle. The point at which the superior border meets the anterior end is called as the anterior basal angle, and the point at which the inferior border meets the anterior end is called as the posterior basal angle. Among this, the anterior basal angle is called as the clinical angle of spleen because this point is the first palpable point during the splenomegaly, and it lies on 9th intercostal space just behind the midaxillary line. Rupture of spleen is very common from an external blow, although it is protected by 9, 10 and 11th ribs. And rupture of spleen is one of the most important reasons for splenectomy. A surgical removal of the spleen is called as a splenectomy, and it is done even for some chronic blood diseases. In case of splenic rupture, when the person is asked to lie down and elevate the leg, there will be a referred pain felt in the left shoulder, and this is called as the Kehr's sign. Accessory spleens are formed when there is a failure of fusion of small lobules of the spleen, which are called as the spleninculae, and this is mainly seen in the gastrosplenic ligament, lienorenal ligament or greater omentum of the stomach. Wandering spleen is a rare medical disease which is caused by the loss or weakening of the ligaments that help to hold the spleen in its anatomical position. And usually the spleen wanders into other parts of the abdomen or into the pelvis. usually it remains asymptomatic. Thank you and have a nice day.